It was Black Monday in the NFL. A terrible day if you're a head coach of a not great team or a team that just hasn't lived up to expectations. But out of all the firings today, one firing in particular caught the league by surprise. And we're here to try to make sense of it. And that firing was of Miami's head coach, Brian Flores. What's going on, guys? Jackson here from Vendetta Sports Media, here with you today with an NFL video. Normally I do NBA videos, but I wanted to do an NFL video today because it is Black Monday for the NFL. Black Monday, in case you didn't know, is the nickname for the Monday after the final regular season games where coaches just kind of limp to the end. They know what's already happening. Everyone's bags are already packed. The locker rooms are pretty much cleaned up. They just got to play one more game, clear out, and you're done for the season. You collect your last game check, and you get to go on vacation. And a lot of these head coaches, after they pack up their bags, got to go to their office, pack up their office, call the realtor, sell their house that they currently have, find a new house in whatever new job location that they're going to be going, and find a new job. And a lot of coaches we were expecting to get chopped today did. Some that we didn't expect, or that we expected to get fired, didn't get fired. Looking at you, New York Football Giants with Joe Judge. And sometimes this happens too, but there's always some surprises. There's always coaches that we think are safe, but they're actually not. And it happened today with the Miami Dolphins. Brian Flores is no longer with the organization. He is no longer going to be the head coach. And the downward trend of the Bill Belichick coaching tree, which Mike Vrabel's still out there. He's got the 1 seed. He's been to the AFC Championship game once. Maybe he can kind of turn that luck on its head, that curse. So I'm on the Vendetta Sports Media website, which linked down in the description. Go give out a read, go give it a look, and go look at all of our other stuff right here. And of course, check out Symbol. It's stocks for sports. Use promo code Vendetta, and you get $10 with your first deposit. It's right there. You just go to the website, click on it, link down in the description. Whatever. You guys will. You're all big boys and girls. I have faith in you. But, you know, this was our Black Friday, Black Monday tracker, you know, covering all the firings. But surprise, definitely for sure, Brian Flores no longer with Miami. And we are here today to just kind of process it. I am a Miami Dolphins fan, if you didn't know that. In fact, I am rocking a Dan Marino jersey right now for this specific occasion. You know, I'm sure to surprise Trey with the fact that I own a Miami Dolphins jersey, a Dan Marino jersey. My dad was a huge Dan Marino fan, therefore he was a Dolphins fan. Now, therefore, I am a Dolphins fan, and I have inherited the sins of my father. And there has been a lot of overreactions today, in my personal opinion, of the overreacting to Flores being fired. You have FloAnon and TuAnon. TuAnon all season long have been the Tua supporters, those lying in the dark, in the shadows, that are the Tua supporters that believe in Tua, that Tua is the guy that can be the starting quarterback for a competitive Miami Dolphins team. And when I mean competitive, I don't just mean in the regular season. I'm talking about for a Super Bowl. They think that he can be at least good enough. You don't have to be Joe Montana reincarnate. You just got to be good enough. If Jared Goff can get to a Super Bowl, any quarterback pretty much can get to a Super Bowl. It all depends on a lot of other factors like head coach and supporting cast, things that Tua really doesn't have. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have FloAnon. I think that's what they're calling themselves, FloAnon. Basically, it is this group of fans that believe that Brian Flores has done no wrong, and it's something that the mainstream media has been pushing, where it seems like every reaction from all the checkmark sports analysis, NFL analysts have been, what the hell is Miami doing? How could they fire Flores? This is a stupid decision. We've got Emmanuel Ocho here, who I forget the name of the show that he's a part of. I think it's called Speak for Yourself, if I can remember correctly, but it's with the Fox Sports Network. Again, if I'm remembering all this correctly, he says the firing of Brian Flores is ridiculous at best and incompetent at worst. Flores won 19 games over 2 years in Miami. The Dolphins haven't done that since 2003, which, I mean, he's coached 3 seasons, and I even admit it felt like that first season was a tank job. It was sabotage by ownership, so that way they could try to get a good draft pick, because it was the tank for Tua season. I guess technically Miami won that tank because they have Tua now, but it seems like everyone hates Tua now all of a sudden, all these years later. I will give Ocho this. He's also supported Tua from what I've seen on Twitter and on YouTube, like looking up different videos, stuff like that of what people are saying. Then yeah, he's one of the few out there that's in this mainstream media that have supported Tua. Then you've got Barry Jackson here. Barry Jackson is a reporter that covers the Miami Dolphins, talking about basically the reason why Flores was fired was because there was a lot of relationship issues between Grier, Flores, but also Flores and his coaching staff, some of the players, ownership. He just gave off this really bad vibe, according to Stephen Ross in interviews that he gave today, discussing the dismissal of Brian Flores. Jackson also goes on to say, Dolphins Flores firing dominates first segment of ESPN's NFL Live. Marcus Spears, this move is stupid, really pissed off about it. Ryan Clark, who the hell you gonna go get? Who is the upgrade? And then Mina is saying puzzling Grier keeps his job. And by the way, this is also the same people that were saying that Miami's 7-game win streak, they were laughing it off, that it was nothing. So now I'm kind of confused a little bit, is that initially, like 2 weeks ago, before the Tennessee Titans game, their 7-game win streak was against nobodies, and admittedly it was against nobodies. Like go look at that, go look at the quarterbacks that they played, that the defense ate them up. It was kind of sad to watch sometimes. Happy, actually, for me, because a Dolphins fan. But if I wasn't a Dolphins fan, it would have been extremely sad and disheartening to watch those games if I was a fan of any of the teams that were playing, or just an NFL fan in general. But they said they weren't great teams. They said that the defense was carrying them. They're saying they weren't great wins. Go beat an actual team. And they go out and they put up a big stinker against Tennessee. And then they get one last sock to the face, one last FU to Bill Belichick, the New England Patriots, and then Flores gets fired, and then all of a sudden Flores is being treated like the second coming of Vince Lombardi. And in fact, where I fall in between here is what Big Cat from Barstool had to say, who is a part of TuAnon, I will say. He says that, I think Brian Flores is a good coach, but people are acting like the Dolphins just fired Vince Lombardi. And that's the bridge that I am trying to, help people, the gap that I am trying to bridge between the two sides. Both statements can be true. You can say that Brian Flores is a good coach and can succeed as a head coach in the NFL, but he's not the best coach in the NFL by a long stretch. Okay, shout out to boss man Big Unk Trey Dabbert for doing this article today. Big Unk stepping up in a big way, as he always does. And he discusses it here. The offense was a real problem. Defense, fantastic. Flores is an excellent defensive coach. but offensive wise, not so much. And coaching decisions, some really questionable coaching decisions. People talk about consistency within an organization. The offensive line, one of the worst offensive lines that I've ever seen, maybe in the history of the NFL. 4 different offensive line coaches in 3 years. Every season that Flores coached, he had a new offensive coordinator. So 3 different offensive coordinators. That is 3 different, if I can speak, 3 different offensive schemes. Because Flores is not calling the plays on offense. There's no way he's calling the plays. And if he is, then that makes it worse. That honest to God makes it worse. Because the play calling this season was abysmal. Okay, go watch these games. They make no sense. Like, whose call was it? I forget what game it was. Was it the Baltimore game that the safety happened? Whose call was it to throw a receiver screen in your own end zone? Whose call was that? If that's the offensive coordinator's job, then that's indicative of Flores not being able to properly assess coordinator talent. If it is Flores that called that play, then he's a terrible play caller. And this defense is honestly immaculate. It's one of the best defenses in the league. At least it's been playing like it. Now, name-wise, recognition-wise, it may not have the talent, but they've been playing really well. They're they're easily have been a top 5 defense over the past 9 weeks or so. Them going 8-1, they've been one of the best defenses in the league. At the same time, with all the criticism that Flores gets, you cannot deny the man went 8-1 in his last 9 games. Sure, Miami started 1-7. The season did not start the way that they wanted it to. In fact, all they really had to do, if they can finish out the Jaguars game and finish out the Falcons game, 2 games that they had leads, or it was at least close in those games, they find ways to win those games, then Miami is in the playoffs. And that's assuming that everything else happens the same. They rip off the 7-game win streak. They still lose to the Titans, but then they take it to and beat the Patriots in the final game of the season. They would be in the playoffs. They actually would have been competitive for the division despite getting shellacked by the Bills twice this year, which I honestly think also has to be a part of it. The Bills are the team to beat in the AFC East, and you went completely winless against them in your career. So I think that did also have something a little bit of, I don't want to, no, I'll go ahead and say it. It's kind of an embarrassment. But the Bills are really good, but some of those games, quite embarrassing. But again, despite all the criticism, he still won games. He still had 2 years in a row of being an above 500 head coach. That can be tough to do, and especially, again, given the fact that they started 1-7, that is a huge accomplishment. Honestly, if you ask me, I still probably would have been okay with 1 more year of Flores. Like, I would not have been mad. Like, after this season, next season is where the rubber needs to meet the road, because the Dolphins have $75 million in cap this year. There are some good offensive linemen that are going to be on the market. There's some good receivers that are going to be on the market. I'm looking at you, Allen Robinson. There's some decent guys on defense that are out there. Maybe you go defense in the draft and you go line and weapons and free agency. However way you look at it, $75 million in cap. You had some bad trades. You thought you were going to be better than you were, and you weren't. You thought the 49ers were going to be worse than they were, and they aren't. They're in the playoffs, so that's not going to be an all too great of a pick, not as high as your pick is going to be, which, thank God, sorry Eagles fans, that it's not a top 10 pick, top 5 pick, like it was 9-10 weeks ago. And and dwelling on it, it does kind of strike me odd that this mostly comes down to a personality type thing, that sometimes your boss isn't the most easy person to get along with. But at the same time, if you can win football games, then you kind of put up with it. But at the same time, can you consider back-to-back seasons where, yes, you're above 500, but you don't make the playoffs? Do you consider that like winning football games? And that's a genuine question I want to ask you guys. Do you consider that winning football? It just goes back and forth on whose fault it is, because like this makes Flores sound really, really bad. That it's like a negligent parent to a child, almost, where it's like, to a young quarterback, it needs to be developed and nurtured, and Flores didn't do that. And that Flores tried to establish himself higher in the organization as Chris Grier. And by golly, Ross is gonna stick by Chris Grier come hell or high water. Now, see, this report is saying that Grier likes to empower his head coach, and this is contradictory and conflicting with what TuAnon supporters, or not TuAnon, FloAnon supporters are saying, where the headbutting really comes from Grier wanted Tua, Flores wanted Justin Herbert, which is, dude, Dolphin fans have this weird obsession with Justin Herbert. Like, yes, he has outperformed expectations, that is true, but it's almost like they want Tua to fail just so that way they can be right, which I've never understood that. Why would you root for your team to suck just so that way you could prove to be right? I'm looking at you, Trey. But like, if this is true, then that means that Flores had to be in on the Tua pick, right? Like, I don't know. It's so confusing to sift through. There's so much here that my tiny little brain can understand. But see, in this article, it says who wanted Tua drafted over Herbert and when did they want it is important here. It appears that Flores wanted Justin Herbert and Grier and Ross wanted Tua, which led to Tua and Flores having an icy relationship. That I can believe. That does make sense a little bit to me. Again, dude, I don't know. There's so much conflicting reports going on right now. It's hard to know what's fact and what's fiction. What's someone's opinion and what actually happened, man. This is insane. I never thought I'd be caught up in this as a fan of any sport. And because of the firing of Flores, it really should make sense that Chris Grier would be fired as well. But Chris Grier is staying as GM with the team. Now, he's been with the Miami organization, I think, since 2000, and in 2016 he was promoted to the point where he is the general manager of the team, and he has been making these picks. First off, it makes sense why Stephen Ross goes to bat for him. I'm not saying that that's the correct decision, both morally or football wise. I am just saying that makes sense that Stephen Ross is going to back Grier over Flores. And we can take a look at some of these draft picks, starting with the 2016 draft. This ageless John Denny, is that how you pronounce that? In this Reddit thread talking about Chris Grier's picks, goes through them and he gives his opinions on these, and you know, they're pretty right. Laramie Tunsil, Pro Bowl left tackle, 2016. Definite hit, ended up being traded in the part of the getting the picks from Houston, that ended up turning into well, actually both of them, because I can't remember if that was like, well, there was at least two players that went from Miami to Houston, and both of those picks ended up turning into Jalen Waddle, which is a dub, and then of course Javon Holland, which is also a dub. Let's see, we've also got Xavier Howard, definitely hit. Yeah, Kenyon Drake, he's been a solid starter, just not with Miami. I ain't gonna lie, I don't know who that man is. Jakeem Grant, this is an all-pro returner and a hit. Yeah, as a returner, that's pretty good for the 6th round, I guess. Jordan Lucas out of the league, 6th round, And then, yeah, those two guys. 17, Charles Harris. That one's a bad pick, considering that TJ Watt was on the board that year. I remember that. Yeah. Not so great. And you you can kind of look at these. Devon Godshaw, 4-year starter, got paid in free agency. Yeah, I remember that. I guess that's technically a hit. Isaiah Ford, I don't know if you call him a hit, but this person is right that they're still hanging around after 5 years. But again, is that indicative of the team in that they just do not have a great receiving core, or is Isaiah Ford good? And I think most people know the answer to that one. Mika Fitzpatrick, that one hurt, having to trade him. Steelers got a good one. Gesicki is definitely a hit. Absolutely. Jerome Baker, a hit. I love Jerome Baker. Gesicki. Like, this was like 1, 2, 3 was a solid draft here. 2018 was a solid draft. I'll give Grier that much. It's just, again, a shame that we couldn't make Fitzpatrick happy. We have kept Gesicki, we've kept Baker, just couldn't keep Fitz happy. It is what it is, I guess. And this is, of course, the 2020 draft with Tua, Austin Jackson, massive bust. Noah Igbenogany, which he did not play really at all this season. So, you know, he could still be a quality player. You don't just know yet. Hunt was actually the best offensive lineman this year. I don't know exactly what that means. It could be the same indication from the Isaiah Ford pick, but just, and then this past draft class, you have Jalen Waddle, which was an absolute hit. Javon Holland, an absolute hit. You had Jalen Phillips, who I panned the pick early on, but he actually played fairly good. He didn't play a whole lot, was the thing. He played like, it was only around like 50% of the, less than 50% of defensive snaps, and had in rookie wise was one of the best pass rushers, lots of sacks. I don't have the stats up there in front of me, but I'm just remembering just kind of some graphics that I saw that I can remember off the top of my head as the season was going along and as the Dolphins were going into that win streak, just how well he was playing. Liam Eichenberg, don't get me started, okay? Like, this person talked about they didn't do the 2021 draft. Where'd he go? Yeah, I think they said 2021. It's too early to say anything. Said except for Curtis Weaver. I'm gonna add Liam Eichenberg to that. At least initially, it's. I just don't want to talk about it right now, man. Like, you can say that it's too early to call him a bust, but when you're one of 3 Dolphins in the top 5 for pressures allowed in a season, the odds of being a hit, especially being drafted in the second round, not in your favor. This tweet from Darius Butler, 9-year NFL vet co-host, the man-to-man pod, kind of summarizes what I assumed happened, where he says, according to my sources in Miami, there was tension all year between Grier and Flores. Grier has been a part of the Dolphins organization for more than 20 years. One or both had to go. Miami made a choice. Was it the right one? And I guess only time will tell. I think Flores and Grier were the same level of person in different jobs in an organization. Like, I think Flores is to an NFL head coach like Grier is to an NFL GM. I think they have made some great decisions, and I think they've made some really poor decisions. I think there is opportunity for growth, but at the same time, they seem to have really taken their time and have a lot of missteps along the way, and really the only difference in the two being is likability, apparently, and that's what it seems to have come down to. The reason why that Grier gets another shot at being GM is, first off, he's got $75 million to play around with. Hopefully Miami is able to get a head coach in here soon. Hopefully it is a home run pick. Obviously, regardless of what my feelings are, Flores, if I absolutely hated the guy, if I thought he was Jesus Christ as a head coach, or somewhere in between, which is a very interesting in between there in that analogy. I'm going to be rooting for this team to make an excellent choice, and whoever is a part of this team, I'm going to be rooting for that person. So it's definitely been an interesting day and an interesting time as a Dolphins fan to really process through everything. Again, Flores, I think, has done a good job in a lot of aspects and bad in other categories. Same with Grier. It looks like early in the season, I wanted them both gone. And I almost do kind of feel like that if you're going to fire Flores, then you would have, at least strictly on paper, you'd have to fire Grier also. But I think the likability factor and, again, the longevity factor of knowing and being buddy with some of the higher ups of the organization, especially the owner of the organization, being within an organization for 20 years, that's just not something that goes away lightly. And it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So from here, it's moving on. It's going to be a full off season of lots of questions, especially centering around trade rumors for Deshaun Watson. That is severely going to ramp up. If that trade ever goes down, you bet your sweet Bippy I'm putting my butt right in this chair and talking about that, because oh my gosh, that would absolutely break NFL Twitter. That would be blockbuster. And I know this has been kind of a long video. I hope it's all just kind of made sense, because it's a video of just me trying to make sense of the situation and just say that at the end of the day, I was all right with Flores. I wasn't happy, but I wasn't upset. I could have gone for one more year. I think, again, just the $75 million, and he'd really built that defense, and that defense believed in him. He just needed to just mend a few things on the offensive side, and I'm wondering if he was just hoping to get to the offseason, try to make this trade happen with Deshaun Watson. If it's true that Flores did not want Tua, and that he wanted Herbert, and then he wanted to move off of Tua, he wanted to pursue Deshaun Watson, but Ross squashed it because Ross is like, we're not sacrificing our future for a guy that could potentially not play for us for a year, but could potentially go to federal prison for sexual assault allegations. Deshaun Watson has settled most of those, from what I understand. There's just a few that he still needs to settle, but of course, like, the moral ramifications of all that for your organization, diving headfirst into a guy that's done that is another topic for another video. But at the end of the day, Brian Flores is no longer the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And tell me if you guys agree. Do you think that Flores should have been fired? Do you think he should have been given another year? Do you think instead Chris Grier instead of Brian Flores should have been fired? Or do you think that they both should have been fired? Or do you think that both of them should have been able to ride it out for another year or two? There's so many ways that we could look at this, and it's hard to do in a video without me spending hours upon hours discussing it. And of course, I like having conversations with people. I don't necessarily like just talking to myself. It's hard for me to stay on track with myself. So I like the podcast setting. So always make sure to tune in some of our podcasts, especially the podcast that I do, TuAnon Sports Show, live on our Twitch, link down in the description. For that, we are live Tuesdays, every Tuesday night, starting at 6:30 Eastern time. So that's something you're interested in, then go give us a follow on Twitch. If you enjoyed the video today, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you do subscribe, make sure to hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever the next video on our YouTube drops. This is Jackson Law from Vendetta Sports Media, signing off, and I will see you guys next time.